But okay. So, a lot of times you have people that just have relationships. So they have relationships. They don't take any thought to what the person has been through, what their upbringing was like, what they believe. They see something, they like it, they go after it, or they accept it into their lives. And the thing is that if this person is not for you, they can hinder and sidetrack your entire life. I remember growing up, I didn't know any of this stuff. So I fell into this category, but I had to learn by falling in the pit and digging my way out and praying my way out. There was no video for me to go to and say, oh, okay, I'm going to do this and that. So, I feel obligated to go ahead and share with the people that don't know, so you can come up, so you can get married, so you can get engaged, so you can have a family, and so you can break any curse that's on your life, right? So let's talk about what soul ties are, right? So here are 7 things about soul ties, right? And we need to know that they are good soul ties, right? In marriage, you come together and the two becoming one, like scripture says, that's a good tie. You're supposed to be soul tied to your spouse, your emotions, right? Your will, just your love. Everything you should be pouring that into your marriage, but a lot of people have difficulties with that because they're soul tied to this one, that one, this one over here, and then they're lingering feelings and emotions just going back and forth, and that's not what you want, okay? There are also good soul ties in friendships, right? Like Jonathan and David. All soul ties aren't bad. So we're not saying all soul ties are bad. They are good soul ties, but what we're talking about here today is how to break the soul ties that aren't good, that keep you in a holding pattern. You meet a good man or you meet a good woman and you can't move forward because you still have feelings for this one and that one, even though they treated you like dirt or cheated on you or broken engagement or whatever the case may be, right? Nobody wants to be alone, right? But you don't need the demons and the issues of a random person that you want to date or that you like or that you have a crush on, right? Keeping you stuck and unable to break through, right? So if you're having random sex, right? Unmarried sex or sex for money because it happens, you are creating a soul tie, period, right? We like to nice it up and put icing on it and all of that, but the bottom line is we need to understand when you're coming together with someone that you have no business being with, from the very beginning, you are creating a soul tie that is bad, right? So, you might say, well, how do I know who I'm supposed to be with? You ask God and you wait on his response, right? So it's not enough to say, Lord, help me. I want to know who's my husband. And then someone walks down the street and you think that that's the one because you just prayed this thing, but you're not asking God. You're not saying, Lord, okay, I prayed and this person came into my life. Is this person it? So you have to check and double check, because here's the thing. Soul ties aside, right? When you're dealing with someone who has generational curses in their life, and we all have something in our bloodline that's not 100% right, or else we would all live a life of breakthrough. I fought years to try and break through, and I'm still fighting for certain things, but got breakthrough on other things. So, when God is putting you together with someone, even if they have stuff in their bloodline, he will equip you to break that, right? So now you meeting random people and you're fighting things that you don't know or understand or comprehend, and we don't need that in our lives, right? Here's the other thing. When you accept trinkets, money, and even food for sex, you are coming into agreement with everything that they stand for, and you have to break it. even if you've done this kind of thing in the past. So why am I equating all these things? Because I remember growing up, I had friends, right? I don't even know if I want to call them friends, but back then I thought that they were friends. And, they would get so happy when a guy wanted to go out with them and take them to eat. It was about a free meal. It was about, a free trip to somewhere, but the bottom line was always that they had to have sex with these people in order to fully break through. I had a friend who had a boyfriend and he was selling drugs, right? So, back in the day when I was growing up, that was a thing. People think they made it, right? You have people nowadays, they're like, okay, if I can get a baller, if I can get an athlete, then I'm living the life, right? And I remember that she and another friend was supposed to go and meet him. I don't know, he was in another city. So, when you're young, and I'm talking about like 18, 19, you get all excited about these silly things, right? And they went to meet him, and by the time they got there to that other state or location to meet him, it was a crime scene because someone had tried to rob him and shot him in the head. So rewind a little bit. I remember her saying that she was waiting, my friend was waiting on her other friend, and because of the delay, they missed their flights. So when they got there, there was a crime scene, right? If they didn't miss their flight, they would have probably been there in the midst of everything that was going on too. So, that's why I'm saying, these things that we get excited about, oh, he bought me a Louis, he bought me a Gucci, oh, he took me to Miami. We need to get over that and walk in freedom and deliverance so that we can find the person who is for us and live that life that God desires for us to live. Soul ties, what many people don't realize is that, soul ties don't get deleted because you deleted their name off your phone. You blocked them, you unfriended them on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X, whatever they're calling it nowadays. You have to actually break a soul tie verbally. Confess to the Lord that you were in error and break and come against this thing so that your mind is not always being led to go back to that situation because you just don't know what else to do. When I hear people saying they have on again, off again relationships, no, you don't have on again, off again relationships. You have a soul tie. So your soul tie will keep drawing you back to that person over and over again. But when you break the tie, your emotions, your feelings come back to you, right? And we want to be whole so that when God sends that husband, our whole heart is there and we don't have fragments of us left in past relationships, and his emotions will go back with him, right? Like I said, soul ties can prevent you from getting married. A soul tie is a marriage blocker and you don't need that in your life. Sometimes, here's what a soul tie does. Sometimes a soul tie prevents you from getting married, and sometimes a soul tie will allow you to get married, but because of the tie that wife or that husband still has to someone else they were dating, it will ruin your marriage, right? So you can't think, oh, well, I got married, so I must not have a soul tie. It doesn't work like that, right? I have an entire marriage preparation course, and there's 1 hour-long module where we do renunciations and come against these things. If you're procrastinating, if you are saying, well, I can't afford that, and you really want to be in right standing and prepare, then you need to go through the course. It's in the description. I always put the link in the description for those who really want to know, okay, am I doing all that I know how to do? Because some of us think, okay, I'm going to church every Sunday. That means I'm preparing for marriage. There's so many things to do to prepare for marriage that if you're not doing those things, but you're frustrated at God, then the fault is you. The fault is not God. God is waiting for you to prepare yourself, right? It's almost like the foolish virgins, right? And the wise virgins. You prepare for what you know is coming, so you don't get locked out or blocked out of the thing you want, which is marriage, right? You, like I said, you can't think, oh, I got married so I don't have a soul tie, right? Really doesn't work like that, right? And with the soul tie, it doesn't care about you or your feelings. You can say you want to be married, right? And in the back of your mind, you could be reminiscing about an old relationship. Summertime comes, you go to a restaurant that you all went to together. All these things are tied to that relationship, and you need to break that, right? You need to break that, because just as a woman wouldn't want a man coming into their life who is still attached mentally, emotionally. He's taking you places he took her and doing things he did with her. You don't want to do that to someone else, just like you don't want them to do it to you, right? So when you break that soul tie, what it means is you're no longer going to be constantly rehashing and replaying and accessing those feelings and reflecting on how it was with this person, right? And the thing is crazy, because they could have moved on or even be married now, but you're wondering what if, right? Or you could be thinking what your life would be like now if you were still together with this person. That's a soul tie. That's a soul tie. That's a no, right? When you break the tie, those feelings follow suit, right? And the key, I said it before, the key is you must take your whole heart with you when love is over. And you can only do that by breaking the soul tie, right? I actually have a book. I don't know, there might be e-copies or Kindle copies on Amazon, but it's called Breaking Soul Ties, How to Take Your Whole Heart with You When Love is Over. Check it out. I mean, when I was preparing to get married to my husband, I wanted to do things right. I was coming before the Lord and trying to assess and learn from the mistakes I made in past relationships, because I didn't want another failed marriage, right? You have to be diligent about what you say you want. I hear women all the time saying, I'm tired of praying, I'm tired of waiting. Well, if you're tired of praying and you're tired of waiting, those are the two key things you need to do to get breakthrough. So you're not going to get breakthrough being tired, right? Am I saying we don't get tired? I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is take a rest, take a reprieve, and then get back to praying, fasting, breaking, uprooting, canceling the enemy's assignment on your life. You can't get tired, because here's the thing. You go into a marriage and now you need to pray for you, your husband, and your kids. So we can't think that, getting married is the final destination, like we're going on a vacation. There's work to do. It's ramped up once you get married. I'm a praying wife. Sometimes I'm up 12 o'clock in the morning praying for my husband, praying for healing for him, praying for clarity for him, praying for his finances, praying for his work, and for no weapon formed against him to be prospering. You have to be on your post. If you're the woman that you just think, I'm gonna get married just so I can have sex and I can have somebody laying there with me, or I can be paying the bills, then you're not a helpmate. A helpmate is somebody who will pray and go to the throne for their spouse. But it starts with breaking off the past relationships and ties that you have to other random men. That's just how it works. That's just how it works. And I'm sorry if it seems like I'm being harsh, but I just don't play with the devil. I don't play with him. He comes to seek, kill, and destroy. And I'm not going to let that happen on my channel, on my watch, through my mentorship, or anything else like that. Okay? People like to say things and romanticize things like, I wrote it down. I'm going to love you forever. I'm never going to stop loving you. But you got to stop making vows like that. Because if that's not your husband, you can't say I'm always, yeah, Whitney saying I'll always love you. Oh. No, you cannot commit and make a vow that now in the spirit is legal with someone that God did not say is your husband. So if you've said those kind of things, if you've profess that undying love to someone that you are no longer with, go in the spirit and break those vows. Go in the spirit right now and begin breaking those words, so you will not always love them. You will loose them. They will loose you, and you will be free to walk into your marriage. I don't play about this. I don't play about marriage preparation, right? So you take your love with you when you leave that relationship. So when God introduces you to the man, to your husband, or puts you before the right person, you're not a fragment of yourself. You're not 75%. You're whole. You want to be whole as you walk into marriage. Because a lot of times people have self-esteem issues, rejection issues, all these things, and they think, oh, if I only had love, that'll make everything all right. No, a marriage is not going to change how you feel about yourself. So that's why it's so important to be doing the work now to heal yourself, to get past that rejection, to get past anything that's hindering you. So your husband doesn't feel like it's a chore to be building you up every day. Oh, I don't feel pretty. You're pretty, babe. You're pretty. I love you. I think you're pretty. That's a burden to put on someone every day. So ladies, please be made whole in the name of Jesus, right? We've got to stop leaving pieces of ourselves in past relationships, right? So if you're getting married, you must know that marriage requires all of you, and soul ties steal some of you, right? Let me say that again. Marriage requires all of you, and soul ties steal some of you, right? Here's some things to know about soul ties. You can have a soul tie even if you've never had sex. For some reason, people are under the false understanding that because they didn't have sex that it can't be a soul tie, right? I know women who have been strung along online and they're sold out to this person that they've never met before face to face. They send money, they send nudie pictures. They feel like they're in a real life relationship. And when they find out it's not what they thought, they're devastated. All of that sharing and texting and little heart messages is what creates ties, commonalities. When you're talking about your dreams, when they're talking about their dreams, when you're on the phone and you're listening to their voice and your reaction to their voice is making you smile, is making you blush, and vice versa, that's how soul ties are created. It's created through sex too, but it's still created through just sharing back and forth, right? And a lot of times when people are doing this online dating, they are doing it with different people, and you have to be careful with that. Second thing I want to share, when you break a soul tie, it can feel like a divorce, right? It can feel like you are in mourning, right? It can make you feel like you're sick, you're physically ill. Why? Because your husband or your wife is the one that you are designed by God to become one with, right? And that oneness should create a tie. Like I said, a good soul tie that is never broken. So when we prematurely give our hearts to people that God didn't sanction and okay, and that ends, it can feel like a gut punch. It can feel like a literal divorce because we never should have been that deeply connected and tied to a person in that way before we knew they were even the one or not the one, right? So when you break a tie with random people, right? Even as you're going through the process, it can feel like your soul and your emotions are just being shredded and ripped into, right? We've all seen the movies where the guy breaks up with the girl and she's on her bed, in her bed, just crying for a week, not eating, physically ill and sick. Depression enters, right? Because that vulnerable spot that you allowed them into has now created this tie. And without that person, you're like, what am I going to do? Some people commit suicide. Some people attempt suicide. Some people don't want to go on because it hurts so bad. We were never designed to get so emotionally deep with people who aren't our forever. So when I was dating, there were things that I told people, but I never delved deep into the level with which I've shared things with my husband. So I tell him the deepest things, the unpretty things, the hurtful things, the growing up things, right? Because he's my forever. Right? So we have to be careful with sharing information. When you look at the news or just everyday society, social media, there's so many things that you could be sharing, right, with a person without having to go so deep into your own life and emotional stuff and making yourself vulnerable to a person that you don't even know is going to be, if they're going to be in your life a year from now. We have to think about these things, you know. So many times we get hooked on the looks that we are blinded to everything else, but we need to open up our eyes spiritually so that we can see, right? We have to stop doing things also society's way and get back to the biblical way. If you're following me, you know that's what I'm teaching. What does the Bible say? Okay, I don't care who's doing what, who's adopting who's marrying a tree. We have to get back to what God is saying to do and do it that way, because that's the only way to have any success in relationships, right? Society did not create marriage. God created marriage. I've said that before and I'll say it again because it's the truth, right? Don't fall for it, right? Because here's the thing. Men, you can't go confiding in random women, and women, you too, right? If you're married, you gotta stick with your spouse. Let him have your ear. Stop even telling friends everything. There are people that don't need to know what's going on in your life or what's going on behind closed doors, because just like God can send you someone, the enemy can send you someone, and you think they're there to love you and cuddle you and be sweet with you, but they've come with a demonic purpose, and you don't need that, right? The enemy will lure you to people for the purpose of your demise. And you can't be so hungry and idolizing marriage to the point that you'll just take anything. You just want a ring and that's it. And you just want a marriage and that's it. There's more to life than marriage, right? I mean, you probably don't want to hear it if you're waiting and been waiting, but I'm telling you, there's more to life than marriage, right? And like I said, and I share this on TikTok too, even with girlfriends, you have to stop telling them all of your business, because some of them are Jezebels that are praying against your relationship. They want your relationships to fail. They want your marriage to end so that they can have you all to themselves. So they can call whenever they want, come over whenever they want, do stuff with you on the weekends, and you become their whole life. And they really don't like the fact, especially if they're operating in this Jezebel spirit, they really don't like the fact that this person is injecting and stealing time from them. So you have to be careful out here. You have to be careful. Um, and it's crazy what I'm getting ready to say. I just talked about purging your closet on the Dom Tourage. So if you're not following my fashion and skincare and beauty channel, go ahead and follow the Dom Tourage. The link is in the description too. But when you're breaking soul ties, understand you have to purge stuff, right? Things you may not want to get rid of. Gucci, Fendi, Louis Vuitton, diamonds, right? Fashionable dresses, shoes, all of that stuff. It has to go. It's a point of contact. It's part of the tie, especially if they gave it to you, right? Saint Laurent, I forgot that. That's my favorite brand. But no matter what the brand is, and even if it's not expensive, if it's El Cheapo brand, right, you still need to purge, right? I've had friends who've had to give away their microwaves, mattresses, all that stuff. You don't want anything the enemy has given you through someone that you're no longer with and you're tied to. Does that mean I need to give up my furniture? Does that mean I need to give up my designer bags? Let the Lord lead you. But most of the time, people who have demonic assignments against you don't even always fully know that's what it is. There's something that draws them to you, and then there's something that says, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. Break her heart, right? And you have to be willing to release anything to have your peace of mind and your freedom. What is your peace of mind worth? I mean, a pair of Louis Vuittons costs about $700, $800. So do the YSL Tribute platform shoes that everybody likes. Well, I like them too, but isn't your sanity, isn't your well-being, isn't your mental stability worth more than $800 though? We have to be willing to get rid of stuff to have our healing, to close the door on the past so we can walk into the glorious future that God has for us, right? Yeah, you don't want anything giving that soul tie legal access to not break off. They might be the most expensive thing on the planet, right? The most expensive thing you ever own, but you can keep stuff and keep the soul tie, or you can get rid of the stuff and finalize the breaking of that soul tie, right? Or anything that's in your life that you're in possession of that is reinforcing the tie, right? You can't have the enemy's stuff and think that he's going to stay out, right? Am I saying that this person is not a Christian? Am I saying, they're evil or whatever? No, that's not what I'm saying. But what is not for you is not for you, and you don't need your emotions trapped there, right? Number 4, if you've ever been molested or raped, ladies, I know that it's a sensitive topic, right? Even fondled by aunts, uncles, that sort of thing. You have to break the soul tie with that person, with that perpetrator, with the one who did that to you, right? It doesn't mean it's your fault. It doesn't mean you wanted it or you liked it. It doesn't mean it was consensual even. It doesn't mean you love them or you love the act of what was happening. It just means it happened and spirits transfer. So you have to sever that. You need to sever ties with that person. And if it's a family member, does that mean you never get to speak to them again? No, that's not what I'm saying. But you don't put yourselves in that situation, especially if it happened when you were younger and you're older now. You don't allow anything to steal your peace and nothing to be operating against you in the spirit realm, right? You want to break those ties so it does not affect the rest of your life. There are people who go into marriages. They're saying, I want marriage, but you haven't dealt with the molestation. You haven't dealt with the fact that this person or a family member may have impregnated you, and now your child is a constant reminder of this act, and you're going into your marriage and you're sometimey about sex. You don't want to be affectionate with your husband because it reminds you of the act. You have to get healed from that. You have to break that soul tie. You have to break free so that God can bless you, right? And what transfers when it comes to rape, molestation, fondling, that kind of stuff, is the spirit of lust enters, right? It enters. It might not drive you to do anything when you're young, but as you get older, it can lead you to use sex as a weapon or have random sex because you feel like your body is no longer your body and you want to just do what you want to do to just numb what happened. You have to get healing from that. You have to come before the Lord. You have to break those ties so that you can be completely free. And when I teach this stuff, I know it's like a lot of stuff and it seems like a laundry list of stuff to do. But the bottom line is when you take your time, God doesn't expect you to do this overnight. It's a process. So as you start the process, take a breather, continue to do the process, take another breather until you're getting freer and freer every day, right? Yeah, you don't want that spirit of lust, perversion, right? That perversion that made them touch you inappropriately, right? Or maybe they took what they wanted from you forcefully, right? You have to break it. Right? Even if you've been abused and it wasn't sexual, you need to break that too with the perpetrator, whoever that was. Break the soul tie. If you were in a relationship that was mentally, physically, financially, or emotionally abusive, you have to break that soul tie. You have to, or else it will pop up in your marriage, and your husband deserves more than that. Don't you want to put in the work so that just like when your husband comes to you, that he's put in the work, right? And you're both being able to love each other without all the hindrances of this stuff, right? 5, let me just share this. Withdrawal from a soul tie can make you rebel against all common sense, right? When you create a soul tie, it doesn't matter if they treat you good or bad. A tie is a tie, right? That's what people don't understand. They say, he beat her. Why doesn't she just leave? He bloodied her lip. He blackened her eyes. Why doesn't she just leave? Because she has a soul tie. And that soul tie will make you rebel against all common sense. It doesn't make sense that someone stays after they've been hit or kicked, right? Or spit on even. But it's a soul tie. And once you break the tie, that frees you up to begin the healing process, regaining your self-confidence, and then moving on in life, right? Yeah, a soul tie will make you abandon all common sense. It will make you look at the I'm sorry flowers and forget the black eye, right? And busted lip. Also, a soul tie can mask your personalities. Let me read this so I can just explain what I'm saying. So let's say you spent your life just hopping through relationships because you wanted love so badly, and you figured one day one of the people you were in a relationship would be the one, right? You can end up like Sybil when you do this. If you've never seen the movie Sybil, maybe watch it, because that's what happens when we open ourselves up to all these different people. We're tied to all these people in the spirit realm, and we never go for a deliverance because we don't want to manifest like the exorcist. So we fear deliverance, and we keep everything in us that was released or that we've come into agreement with these people that we've dated throughout the years, right? You don't want to be like Sybil with a mashup of people triggering you and having unbroken ties and spirits that can mask who you really are, right? I mean, just imagine you're dating someone, they're not the best, you fight a lot, and when you finally break up, you find yourself cooking his favorite meal and eating it like you enjoy it, and you're like, wait a minute, I only ever cooked this for this person. So we have to understand how deep these things go, right? Deliverance is necessary, right? Only breaking soul ties and going through deliverance is necessary to free you, right? In relationships, a lot of times we conform to what other people want, right? And when the relationship is over, then we forget to become ourselves again, right? You're walking around, like I said, liking a certain food, liking to watch certain things on TV. And when the tie is broken, you're like, when did I start eating this? When did I start watching this, right? That's a soul tie, right? And I think the average person, even the average church, doesn't teach on this because they don't even fully understand it, right? Here's number 7. And we're getting to the end, and I'm probably going to do a separate video for the actual breaking of a soul tie because it will be a prayer. Or maybe I'll just do it and add it to this. We'll see how the Lord is leading me. But number 7, you can have soul ties with the same sex, right? Does that mean you're a woman and you want that woman? No, friends can have soul ties, just like David and Jonathan that were never sexual. And when they're out of your life, you need to break that soul tie because what? You've shared secrets with them. You've shared hopes and dreams with them. You've shared fears with them. And when you've done that, a lot of times, especially with the same sex friendships, we see that people try to use the secrets we told them against us, right? Or put it out there. Well, did you know she this? Did you know she's afraid of that? Did you know she went through this? That's not what a true friend would do. But just like we pray about who's going to be our spouse, we need to begin to pray against anything that's not aligned in our best interest. And we need to pray about our friends too. It doesn't matter you met them in 3rd grade, 10th grade, high school, college. The bottom line is it possible? Have we taken a moment to think, should they be in your life? Should they, right? But again, like I said, a soul tie is a knitting together, and it can be done in a negative way, right? Perfect example, and then I'm going to close this part, right? When I had friends that I disconnected from, they began to curse me. They talked about me. And when they went to other people and felt okay sharing negative stuff about me, I had to go in and start breaking soul ties with them, past friends. I was intimate with these friends, right? Like I said, meaning I shared personal, private information, books, wishes, hopes, dreams. I've had 2 and 3 hour calls. I even prayed with them, right? When people know too much about you, they can use that as a weapon. And that intimacy, even in friendships, creates a tie. So we have to be careful of that, and we have to know that, right? And some people were asking me, I think I posted a video on TikTok, and one woman said, well, what if I don't want to break the soul ties? Here's the thing, the negative soul tie is a spiritual interruption, right? It doesn't mean the other person is thinking about you and wants you back, right? Think of it like a built-in auto-fail mechanism. So what does that mean? That means whenever you try to enter a new relationship, this old tie can make the new relationship not work. You don't want that. If you really want to be married, you need to break these ties and you need to be diligent about it, right? So don't think that by keeping the tie, the other person will eventually come back. That's some witchcrafty stuff, and you don't want that, right? Use wisdom. You should desire the person that God has for you, not the one that your flesh wants.